Welcome into the Big Time Hoops Starting 5 podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. I'm Taylor Mannix, and it's another week of college basketball and headlines around the state of Maine and outside it. Today we'll be going over quite a few different things, including the YSCC. That's where we'll begin. On top of that, we're going to talk about the NACs. The women's standings heat the heck up, and maybe not even heat up. They're on fire right now with three teams at 11-2 at the top of the NAC on the women's side. We'll also touch on a story that's close to my heart with Maine United and a few other things as well as we get into the college catch-up here on the Starting 5 podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Again, I'm Taylor Mannix. I'm your host today. Before we get into it, too, we will do big-time performers. I got a bunch of them right here ready to read to you guys. Awesome week from D1 all the way down the Division III levels. And then I got the power rankings, which I know USM Huskies fans, you guys are already pissed at me. It's all right. We'll talk about it. We'll work through it. We'll end up friends by the end of it. Don't send the pack on me yet. Let's get into it, though. Let's talk YSCC, get into some updates. Big night, big statements over the last really 2 weeks. And credit to my our producer here. Shout out to Brady King, who does so much behind the scenes for drawing to my attention some of these performances over the last couple weeks in the YSCC. Will Duke ignited CMCC's offense I'd say last Saturday at this point now. And yeah, it is last Saturday against Washington County. This was the first time in 12 years that we have seen this kind of offensive explosion from the Mustangs. A 126-87 victory where Will Duke, the former Camden Hill standout, scored a career-high 30 points. Unbelievable performance for Mr. Duke there and the CMCC Mustangs. And then you look deeper into this, the Mustangs shot a blistering 57% from the field as a team. They knocked down 15 three-pointers, cruising to their largest win of the season. And again, the largest win in about 12 years for that men's side. Duke followed that performance up with 15 more points last night, helping CMC secure a tight 79-76 victory over the University of Maine at Augusta. Brady King made it on site for those games, so really, really exciting night in Auburn. We're going to get into the women in just a second, but wanted to highlight the men's side there. And while a lot of attention was in Auburn, we need to bring attention to what's happening down here in the southern part with SMCC. Chance Mercier. We've heard this name a while for those of us who've followed the high school basketball scene with him. Career night and some clutch moments and a win to remember for Chance over the past week in a thrilling YSCC showdown in the hub, as they call it, in South Portland last Wednesday. Mercier poured in a game-high and career-high 33 points, drilling 7 of 10 from beyond the arc as the number 10 Southern Maine Community College edged the number 8 UMaine Augusta Moose 89-88 in overtime, and Chance continued to show us why even outside of the high school ranks, he is one of the most clutch players we've really seen in the Maine, whether it's high school or college ranks, and now he is here at CMCC, continuing to just strive and thrive. And the Seawolves weren't finished after they had that big win against UMA. Last night against NHTI, a 79-71 conference road win at the Goldie Crocker Gymnasium. Their win streak is now 9 games. Down the stretch, Mercier was incredible, helping them get that win. He had 28 points last night, 9 rebounds, and 5 made three-pointers. And now looking at these YSCC standings, as I pull them up on my trusty iPad, these guys are creeping up. Yes, CMCC after 14 games and UMA are still kind of the cream of the crop, but when you look at that 4th spot, a 9-game win streak has catapulted SMCC into the 4th spot. They have a big-time matchup coming up, it looks like, in the future here with a couple of these teams in the YSCC as we wind down the stretch in the Yankee Small College Conference. But this SMCC team might be finding its groove at the right time, and seeing Chance Mercier be able to really discover himself at this level and score at the clip he is like he used to at the high school level for Ellsworth. This is exactly what SMCC needs, and they have a ton of other Maine talent, so it's really fun to see them now maybe get into this mix. Yes, CMCC and UMA stole the spotlight last night at Auburn, but let's not sleep on what's going on down at the hub in South Portland as SMCC, with Chance Mercier, is starting to make some waves in the YSCC standings. Over on the women's side, though, this was the shocker of the night. The number 1 USCAA Division II ranked team, the CMCC Mustangs, lost for the first time this year. They had a 19-game win streak this season. They are now 19-1, 75-73. They lose to UMA. What a finish it was there. Quite a interesting finish, too. It felt like they did everything to give CMC an opportunity at the end there, putting even like an extra second back on the clock for those who watch. But on Munzing Media, who had some great coverage, this was a massive, massive win here. UMA came in ranked 4th to go on the road in Auburn and hand CMCC this first loss is something that I think for that program and Coach Cowan, they've been waiting for, to put that stamp on what they really needed this season to be, and they've been close. And it does feel like CMCC still is the best team in the conference and maybe the USCAA. But for right now, UMA can rest on their laurels and know that they are one of the best teams in the YSCCA, and they just proved it last night in Auburn with a clutch win and a big-time result. And on the women's side now, it is CMCC still at the top. They're 10-1, UMA 10-2, SMCC 10-2. A lot like the NAC that we'll talk about today. This main group here in the YSCC is fighting tooth and nail against each other to see who's going to be standing alone when it's all said and done, champions of the YSCC. I can't wait for playoffs there. SMCC, CMCC, UMA, all really fun rivalries to continue to watch, and I think now they're heating up more than ever, even on the men's side too, as we just mentioned. So shout out to the YSCC. Wanted to touch on some updates there to open up this podcast. Let's go to the second topic, though. This one's a little bit close to my heart. I really want to touch on this. We've talked a lot about Ace Flagg, Landon Clark this year. Gabe Lash also joined the conversation. Even Cooper Flagg will throw him. I know he's NBA. It's not college level, but he's also a part of this group as the Maine United AAU team that made a run to the Peach Jam Championship in the 2023 year and played against the Boozer Twins, for goodness sake, who, by the way, are at Duke right now. No big deal or anything. Top team in the country. One of them also projected a top 3 draft pick, considered tier 1, if you're interested in those kind of things. But I assume you are if you're listening to this podcast. This AAU team, though, to get back to the point, in 2023, led by a coaching staff of Matt McKenzie, Andy Bedard, and Kelly Flagg, captivated Maine. I mean, this was special. We had never seen an AAU team go to these Nike circuits, get these kind of sponsorships, and perform with the best players and best teams across the country. And now, I'm sure if you're Kelly, if you're Andy, if you're Matt, you are so proud of these boys because especially the last 2 weeks, they have stepped up big time on the next level, at the next level, showing their development from losing in that Peach Jam Championships to excelling in their own individual ways, in their own places. Ace Flagg last week, Rookie of the Week in America East. Unbelievable performance on a 2-0 week for the Black Bears that they desperately needed. The Newport native played a career-high 30 minutes per game against Binghamton and Albany, averaging 11.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 4 assists. That is the Ace Flagg we remember. To see him break out of that shell, especially in the comeback win over Albany, where he posted career highs across the board, 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists, and then followed it up with 11 points and 4 more assists against Binghamton. Again, it marked Maine's first multi-win week of the season, and Ace Flagg was right at the center of it. Let's go down to the Little East Conference. Gabe Lash, Rookie of the Week down in Gorham. And again, another Maine United product making an impact. Freshman in the Little East Conference. He averaged 16.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2.5 steals in a 1-1 conference week for USM. And Lash shot an efficient 64% from the field, 60% from 3, and 80% from the free throw line in a 77-69 win at Plymouth State. He scored 17 points on 5 of 7 shooting, with 11 of those coming in the second half. He followed that up with 16 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals. Tough loss to Western Connecticut, but Gabe Lash, Ace Flagg, coming into their own. We talked a lot about Landon Clark, who picked up his second Ivy League Rookie of the Week honor just 9 days ago. I mean, this group is finding their roles in all of their respective teams, and I remember watching them play together and dominate the AAU scene and wonder what was next for them, as all of them had bright futures. And here's Landon Clark going to play Harvard, career-high 19 points on 6 of 12 shooting, knocked down 5 3-pointers, 8 rebounds, matched multiple career highs along the way. He shared the honor with Brown's Isaiah Langham, but there was nothing shared about his impact on the floor for Princeton. And again, it's incredible. And oh yeah, Cooper Flagg. I mean, what more do we have to say about him? He's on his way to All-Star Weekend. but this Maine United story is still being written. And honestly, it feels like we're only a few chapters in. Like, I know it's been so long that us have been following this group, but to see them all excelling in their own way, even the ones I didn't mention, finding their own niche in this world, it's incredible to see. So congratulations to to Kelly, to Matt, to Andy, who helped develop these incredibly talented student athletes who are now excelling at the Maine level and making Maine extremely proud. So I wanted to give a shout again to Maine United and a couple of those guys at the next level balling. And again, we already knew about Cooper, but Gabe, Ace, and Landon coming into their own at the college game. Let's go into the NAC women's race, which is, as I said earlier, like, it was kind of a little smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah, this thing's on fire. When you look at the North Atlantic Conference title chase, it's gone from absolutely just crowded, shoulder to shoulder, to chaotic. 3 teams now sit deadlocked at the top with identical 11-2 records. That's Maine Maritime Academy Husson and UMaine Farmington, with Thomas College still lurking. A huge opportunity against Maine Maritime coming up on the 30th after repeatedly playing NAC opponents close. We'll see if they can finally maybe get over the hump, Thomas College, the Terriers. If they do, watch out for them. They'll be on this conversation next week. But look at the team that flipped the standings, folks. It is the Husson Eagles. They have flown in and poured gasoline all over this NAC race. I mean, this is what you talk about. They beat UMF 52-38 on Friday, then turn around less than 24 hours later to take on MMA, 75-71 to win. All of them in Bangor on their home gym, but one very real statement. Husson is back in the mix on the women's side. A couple of the reasons for this, I know I've highlighted Sage Evans before, but she's like the engine that never stops. Against Bowdoin in a loss this week, 14 points, 10 rebounds. Against UMF in a win, 15 points, 11 rebounds. And against MMA, 14 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. A stretch that included wins over, by the way, the top 2 NAC teams that I mentioned, and the loss to top 10 nationally ranked Bowdoin, where she had a double-double. And by the way, that makes 9 consecutive double-doubles for Evans, who rightfully earned the NAC Player of the Week this week. She is on fire. And when the stakes rose, she met them every single time this week. So Sage Evans just balling for Husson. And then this is one that kind of caught me off guard watching them. There's been an injury to them that's opened the door for first-year guard Sophia Carnes. And Sophia Carnes has, well, she's risen to the occasion. 15 points with 5 made three-pointers against MMA. Electric from deep across all 3 games, as I described these. 3 threes at UMF, 2 more threes versus Bowdoin. Her impact got her Rookie of the Week, and this is the depth that's showing up in a big way, because it's not just veteran leadership now with Husson that's starting to win games. We're seeing this freshman step up, and this is the kind of depth that wins conference races when the margin of error is as thin as the razor's edge. And right now, that's what it is with 3 teams at 11-2, and the Terriers lurking. Let's not sleep on them. I know I'm not. My alarm clock's up, I'm awake, and Terriers, I know we haven't talked about you much, but I know you're right there, especially on the women's side. And a big win against MMA will throw them right back into this conversation. So, continuing to monitor the NAC women's side, we have to understand this race is heating up. Husson has completely thrown a wrench into it, and honestly, I'm here for it. I think we're all here for it. This is the kind of parity we look for in basketball, and especially in the state of Maine when there's a lot of Mainers that are on these teams. We'll talk about a few of those players, especially on the MMA side, as Evelyn Dagan made some history, but that's for the big-time performances of the week when we get there. Let's move on, though, to the 4th topic here on the starting 5. We're almost through this. We're cruising today. The University of Maine Presque Isle. Let's talk about these boys up in Umpy. As I said, the NAC women's race is on fire. Umpy is at least heating things up on the men's race. They've quietly become one of the most fun stories in the NAC since the new year rolled around. After a tough 3-9 start to the 2025-26 season, a stretch that included a 5-game skid that left Owls fans wondering who they really were. Gotta love the Owl pun. I had to throw it in there for you guys. Presque Isle, though's taken flight. Another one. Before a 77-62 loss, unfortunately for them, to UMF on January 27th, snapped the streak for the Owls. But then they ripped off 6 straight wins, including a 62-60 nail-biter over MMA to avenge an earlier loss. And then they got an impressive 87-78 win against Thomas College. Dan Kane and leading scorer Ake McMichael look like they're peaking at the right time. I mean, look, when you saw what they were doing in the early part of the season, you wondered if they were going to be able to turn it around. And with some hot scoring, again, McMichael really taking things over on the scorings department, and this team starting to maybe find a little bit of their identity, they've completely flipped the script here in the 2026 year. I believe they've only lost twice now since the turn of the 2026 years. So this Umpy team is for real. I know we've really been giving them some love, maybe not enough love. So I wanted to make sure I highlighted their turnaround from 3-9 to, again, where they are right now is an impressive feat for them. So watching Umpy continue to grow, we'll see if they can really make some waves here as they continue to move on. They've quickly proved the Farmington loss wasn't a setback, just a speed bump here as they've kind of regrouped in the NAC to a degree. We'll see, though. The biggest matchup for them coming up is the matchup against Husson. We're about a day away from that. And Umpy and Husson, if Umpy's able to get a win against Warren Caruso in that group, and Husson, the men, have really kind of rewritten things so far in the last couple weeks on who they are, we're going to be talking about an Umpy team that with SUNY Delhi, SUNY Cobleskill, and the Vermont Tech schools left has a real chance to put themselves back at the top of the NAC race. Again, a good bounce back 91-77 win over the University of Maine Fort Kent after a 62-67 loss to the University of Maine Farmington. Husson up, but watch out for those boys from Umpy and Presque Isle. I think a lot of people sleep on the county. You can't sleep on them right now. And again, only 2 losses to SUNY Cobleskill, one of them, and UMF right now so far in the 2026 season. So again, climbing the ladder and making it really, really tough to ignore this Umpy Owls team. Let's talk a little bit as well as we dive a little bit deeper into this Owls team, kind of looking at their balanced scoring. We talked a little bit about Ake McMichael, who's led a lot of this, but one guy who stood out to me as well, kind of looking at these numbers, is Tyson Engett and AJ Creech as well. A couple guys who contributed 12 apiece in that win recently for them. I mean, this team is deep, and you do wonder just what kind of waves they can make in the NAC race, especially as things get down to the nitty-gritty. Again, that Husson matchup on Friday is absolutely massive. I don't know who I'd be, especially going up to the county. You do have to wonder. Newman Gymnasium is a very, very friendly place for Husson, so leaving the friendly confines of that and heading up to Umpy, we'll see just what they do. But the Owls, again, dominating and at least finding their groove here in the 2026 season. We'll see if it can continue. They're 9-8 overall right now. And again, the Husson Eagles fly into the Owls' nest this Saturday. It's a 1 p.m. game in Presque Isle as they look to continue their second semester surge. Let's talk about the big-time Town and Country game of the week, though, before we wrap up here on the Starting Five podcast, as we took it down to, trophy mode, took us to USM, as the University of Southern Maine Huskies took on the UMass Boston Beacons. And my goodness, the number 25 Southern Maine Huskies reminded everyone exactly who runs the Little East Conference. What a dominant performance. Sophomore Lucy Wiles and senior J.C. Christopher each dropped 18 points, and the Huskies cruised to a 74-51 victory Wednesday night at Hill Gym. And while the final score says comfortable, the way USM controlled the game was so dominant. I mean, it was just... for those who have Flow College, that's where USM, you can stream these games. I'm a nerd. I pay for all this stuff for, I don't even know why. I have no idea why, but I have it. And I was catching some of this game. And on top of, again, J.C. Christopher and Lucy Wiles, who get a lot of the mention, I think someone that needs to get a little love too is graduate student Liz Cody. She knocked down 3 triples on her way to 9 points and 4 assists as well. Ava Ingalls filled the stat sheet, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a block. And Dakota Shipley, familiar name, especially on the Mid-Coast region from Brunswick, was everywhere defensively finishing with 7 points and a game-high 11 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. So a really, really well-rounded performance from her. And the game broke wide open out of the halftime break. For those who didn't see it, they came out of the locker room, ripped off a 13-2 run that saw Wiles and Ingalls combine for 13 points during that stretch. And Ingalls cleaned up an offensive rebound and put it back at 4:53, I have noted. That lead was 58-28. Door slammed shut at that point. Up next for Southern Maine, they host Keene State Saturday in the second annual NAMI Maine Wade Millett Memorial Foundation game. before hitting the road for matchups at Rhode Island College and Eastern Connecticut. Last night's win, though, was another reminder just how dominant this team is, and it was another statement win for the Huskies as they continue to cruise through the conference. 18-1 overall and a perfect 10-0 in Little East play. Watch out for those Huskies and Coach Chadbourne. They are in the top 25 now. Maybe someone heard this podcast and heard my complaints, but I'm glad they're finally in the top 25 and continuing to make waves. That's the starting five. Instead of taking a break, we'll just rip right through this thing. Let's talk some big-time performances here on the Big Time Hoops Starting Five podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Just a few of them here on my list this week that I wanted to highlight for a few players, and I know I can't get them all. If you want to send some big-time performances to our Instagram page, man, I love the feedback, or at least I love the information. So if you see a performance that you think needs to be noted, tag us in it, send it to us so we note it and we know what's going on around the state of Maine, because we can't always get everything. We do have, I feel like 8 different pairs of eyes on it, so we do our best. But hey, we could always use some help, especially from the public that listens to this and enjoys this kind of content. Big time performances, though. Let's start with JP Estrella. My goodness, last night, for those of you who watched that Tennessee win against Georgia in overtime, JP poured in 17 points on 8 made field goals. The scoring total ties his second highest output as a Tennessee Volunteer, matching his November 8th performance against Northern Kentucky. A little bit more impressive, though, when it's done against an SEC team like Georgia. And trailing only his 23-point night versus North Florida back on November 12th, Estrella was on the floor for a career-high 31 minutes last night, eclipsing his previous best of 26, and made the most of every second as the Vols survived that nail-biter against Georgia. Shout out to JP Estrella at the University of Tennessee in the SEC, 17-point night on 8 made field goals. Let's go to Addison Solikowski now on the women's side, keeping it in D1. She is a bucket getter. She continues to light it up, earning the NEC Co-Player of the Week honors after a dominant road swing through Western Pennsylvania. The sophomore averaged 22.6 rebounds and a steal per game as New Haven went 1-1. She knocked down 10 three-pointers while shooting a ridiculous 62% from deep during the week. Her week was also highlighted by a 27-point performance at St. Francis, capped by the go-ahead and one with 33 seconds left in a 1-point win. The Saco Maine native followed that up with 17 points at Mercyhurst, helping spark a 14-point fourth-quarter comeback. Solikowski now leads the NEC in three-point percentage at 41.9% and is one of just 3 players in the entire conference to earn multiple Player of the Week honors this season. You have to wonder if Addison Solikowski, as just a sophomore, might be pushing towards an NEC Player of the Year. She might be in the conversation if she's already only one of 3 to earn multiple honors. Let's go back to Maine, though, into the D3 ranks. Over at MMA, history was made as Evelyn Dagan etched her name permanently into the Maine Maritime history books with a night to remember. She scored her 1,000th career point and buried her 247th three to become the all-time leader in Maine Maritime history for made threes. She now sits at 250 and counting. The last time I looked, she probably has more than that now, and the record is still climbing. So shout out to Evelyn Dagan for continuing to dominate. Coach Dagan's daughter. Must be fun as a coach to watch your daughter set the team's made 3-point record right in front of you. Unbelievable stuff, and also her 1,000th point. So congratulations, Evelyn Dagan at MMA. Shout out to Grace Joffrey, who keeps rewriting the history books at Johnson and Wales. Excuse me. Got something in my throat. Coke, if you're out there, there's an ad for you right there. Beautiful. Beautifully done. Big Time Hoops. Contact Tom Bard. Anyway. Helping spark a 14, Grace Joffrey. Whew, man, that, I don't know, it just did like a bug fly in my throat or something. Y'all gonna have to, Brady, you're gonna have to replay the tape and see if something flew in my throat. Grace Joffrey, let's go back to where we were. She continues to rewrite the history books at Johnson and Wales University. They, by the way, are top in the CNE. They're number 1 in the conference in the women's side. They are unbelievable. And Grace Joffrey, a familiar name on this podcast. I feel like I continue to talk about her for good reason. Her meteoric rise this year has to be documented. The sophomore became the fastest women's player in Johnson and Wales history to reach 1,000 career points back on January 20th in a win over Gordon. Just a sophomore. 1,000 points already. The season's not even over. What are we talking about here? What's going on down at Johnson and Wales with Grace Joffrey? That is unbelievable. Currently ranked 2nd in points per game across all Division III. and she's nowhere near finished again with the season going on. So I don't know what's going on down there, but Grace Joffrey, unbelievable stuff. She keeps dominating. Let's go to Bowdoin, where Ray Cuevas shines in a rivalry win. Bowdoin sophomore Ray Cuevas delivered when it mattered most, scoring 12 of his game-high 21 points in the second half to lead the Polar Bears over a clutch win over Colby, 69-61 this weekend. He added 7 rebounds, knocked down 4 threes in 9 attempts, powering Bowdoin to a key conference win, and that's kind of why we'll get to in a second. They're in my power rankings. Unbelievable performance from Bowdoin. And again, quick shout-out to Colby Mules. Katie Olenek, who's just on another level. The Colby Jr. continues to separate herself as the NESCAC's leading scorer. She averages 28 points per game over the last 2 contests, highlighted by a season-high 32-point performance in a rare Colby win over Maine Maritime. Just their second time in the last 8 meetings, Colby, by the way, have beaten Maine Maritime, which is why I say that's rare. She followed with 24 points in a tight loss to number 7 Bowdoin, playing 76 of a possible 80 minutes. She shot better than 50% from the floor, 50% from 3, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, while also averaging 7.5 rebounds and grabbing 5 steals. Katie Olenek at Colby might be arguably the best women's basketball player right now in the NESCAC. We'll leave it there. Let's go to our power rankings now as we wrap this thing up on the Big Time Hoops Starting 5 podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Shout out to Brady King behind the scenes, Tom Bard, Trophy Mode, everybody else involved that's helping put this whole thing together. It's not just me. It is a village that it takes to get this thing done. You just get to see my ugly mug whenever I do this now and talk about it, but it is a village behind the scenes. Shout out to everybody back there that gets it done. Power rankings are out. You can go on the Big Time BTHoops.com to see these. USM, I know you guys are pissed at me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. You lost to Western Connecticut. That's it. That's the only reason you're out. And there's a lot of people who can attest to this behind the scenes. I didn't want to take you out. I didn't. I didn't want to. And the win against UMass Boston, you guys put egg on my face. I had you coming out. You win in a big game against the top LEC team. Now I look stupid not having you in there, but I do feel okay putting them at honorable mention in this. And a big shout out to Noah Dowling, 22 points on an absurd 8 of 9 shooting last night. He was 6 for 6 from 3, and USM shot 57% from the field, 50% from deep last night. Huge statement for them against the top team in the LEC. So everyone has a right to crap on me for that decision. But I just think Bowdoin's win, I mean, they've come completely out of hibernation. And, talking to a few guys here at Big Time Hoops who are on site at that game, they were also really impressed with Bowdoin, as I have. So, had to get Bowdoin in there. UMF is the one where if USM fans maybe have a little quarrel with me. And the dam, as I wrote, nearly broke. They had a couple close bouts, but they're still atop the NAC, and I couldn't punish them for winning some games. But if you want to go check my actual reasoning for these, head to the bthoops.com website. Check these out. I got write-ups for them all. USM fans, you can be pissed at me. I still love you guys, and I promise if you keep winning, guess what? You'll be back in. Simple as that. And with the Galley brothers and Whale, I mean, they're rolling. And Mikey Coppersmith, shout out to him, incredible coach. That team knows how to win. Just like St. Joe's, who's starting to climb the rankings, I expect USM to stick it to me and get back in there soon. It's just tough to remove some of these teams, man. Really quickly, though, men's power rankings. Off the top, Bates is at the number 1 spot, 14-4, 2-2 in NESCAC. St. Joseph's Monks, number 2, 9-8, 4-0 in GNAC play. Number 3, Colby Mules, 13-5, 1-3 in NESCAC play. Number 4, Bowdoin Polar Bears, 12-6, 2-2 in NESCAC play. And number 5, UMF Beavers, 15-5, 12-1 in NAC play. On the women's side, not much movement, just the Husson Eagles, man. They just swooped in. The Eagles are back in the driver's seat here. They've come in. One team I will highlight is UNE. They're quietly surging back into the conversation. 3-game win streak capped by a 71-57 win over Curry to reach 500 for the first time since November last night. This Nor'easters team played a really, really tough out-of-conference schedule. They are absolutely reaping the benefits of that now with their record in conference. 7-2 at CNE play. They're 9-9 overall. Maddie Werner continues her steady presence during conference play. The Maine native has been amazing, and the Nor'easters, I think, are looking like legitimate CNE contenders. Honorable mention right now, but they might climb into the rankings sooner than later. We'll go to the top. Bowdoin Polar Bears, 15-1, 4-0 in NESCAC play, still rolling. The Bobcats, who are ranked 13th nationally, are 16-2, 3-1. They're second in my rankings, USM Huskies 18-1, 10-0 in LEC play at 3. Colby Mules 4, 11-6, 2-2 in NESCAC. Number 5, Husson Eagles 12-7, 11-2 in NAC play. And again, watch out for those Nor'easters as they climb the ranks. I'm Taylor Manick. Shout out to Brady King for coming in and helping me record this. And shout out to everybody else behind the scenes at Big Time Hoops. Keep tuning into the Instagram page. Keep hitting the follow button. Keep showing us love. We got more college catch-up coming for you next week, so stay tuned. Look at the YouTube page. Look at the Instagram page. Keep following us. We got so much more content, so much more cooking in the behind the scenes for you guys, so stay with us. This is just the beginning. I'm Taylor Mannix again for the Starting Five podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Till next time, y'all. See you later.